That I hope you will listen to very carefully, because the information that I'm going to give you may end up saving your life.
Speaking to a gym full of Catholic high school students, Jessica Akhrass is determined to turn her tragedy into something positive.
And that you won't play games with your life. Addison tried to, and he lost.
Addison Sharp's family knew he died of a prescription pill overdose when we first talked with them in February, but an autopsy has since confirmed Sharp overdosed on opana, a brand name for oxymorphone, which is something similar to morphine.
The scary part is that a drug like that most people have not heard of, is on the street.
Medical examiner Darinka Malusnik-Polchin performed Sharp's autopsy.
High school kids, we see more and more of those. Teenagers, and of course, people in their early 20s are, I would say, the largest category.
Polchin says overdose deaths are skyrocketing in East Tennessee.
Addison is the fourth of his personal friends to die from a prescription drug overdose.
I spoke with Addison Sharp's favorite teacher. She says a few years ago she had no idea about the pill epidemic. Now she does, and she says she tries to talk to her students as much as possible, and she says every school should do the same.
We drug test, we talk about it, we're trying to do everything we can, and it just never seems to be enough. I mean, it's just a huge epidemic.
As Akhrass revealed private moments and struggles with Sharp's addiction, you could see students really listening.
He was my baby brother, and I will miss him every day for the rest of my life.
Akhrass may have been addressing students at Catholic high school today, but she hopes her story reaches all young people.
If what I tell them could save one kid in that room, it would be worth it.
In West Knox County, Hannah Kim, 6 News.
Chairman Dunn, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you, sir. House Bill 1264, which you have before you, there is an amendment that makes the bill, and I know it was mentioned about whether it was timely filed. It is essentially the same amendment that was before this committee last week, except Section 11 was taken out. We can get into that, but would you like me to go ahead and explain the bill? Go.
Yeah, can I get a second on the bill? Second. Do you want to talk about the amendment or the bill?
Well, the amendment's going to make the bill, so let me just explain what.
Let's talk about the amendment. What's the drafting code that you have?
I have 5568.
That's exactly what we have. Committee, do y'all have that amendment with you? All right. Can I get a motion and a second on his amendment? Proceed.
Thank you. Let me just say, as a result of the continuing problem of prescription drug abuse and the growing number of lives being lost to overdose of these drugs, the Public Safety Coalition is supporting the proposed Addison Sharp Prescription Regulatory Act of 2013. Addison Sharp was a resident of Knoxville, Tennessee, whose young life was tragically cut short on New Year's Day 2012 by an overdose of prescription medication. Addison was also on the high school bowling team with my daughter Elizabeth. Since this tragedy, his family has been working with legislators, law enforcement, and medical professionals to attempt to impact the number of lives being taken by this growing epidemic. Addison's mother, his godmother, and his sister, Jessica Akhrass, is here today. And I'd like to ask the committee to go into recess to hear from Jessica. She is the one who's put so much time and work into this, and if she could make a few remarks regarding the
Absolutely. Without objection, we're going into recess. Thank you for being here. Would you tell us who you are?
Yes, my name is Jessica Sharp Akhrass. I actually have something that I would like for you all to look at closely if the clerk could come get that.
Mr. Clerk, would you grab that for her? Or Mr. Representative?
Thank you, members of the committee, for letting me speak today. As Representative Dunn mentioned, one of the lives that was lost to this epidemic was my baby brother, Addison. To know Addison was to love him. He was genuine, kind, loving, and sincere, traits that were obvious even when he was a little boy. His sense of humor was beyond compare, and his compassion for others was overwhelming. Addison was also just a normal, everyday kid. Upon graduating from high school in 2008, Addison wanted to get a summer job before starting UT that fall. He was working for the most part with other kids his age at an entertainment facility for children with go-karts, rides, and video games. Surprisingly, most of his co-workers were regular abusing prescription pills, and the assistant manager was dealing pills from that facility. Because of Addison's inexperience, immaturity, and curiosity, Addison took a pill offered to him from a co-worker, having no idea what it was, what it would do to him, what it would do to our family, and ultimately what it would end up costing us all. Addison overdosed on Xanax in January of 2009 and spent 5 months in an all-boys faith-based rehabilitation center in Arkansas. He did well for several months after he returned, but then was offered yet again by a friend Aroxicet, which was his first experience with opiates. Addiction is a disease, and what starts out as a fun and euphoric want quickly changes to a desperate and painful need, as the chemistry in an addict's brain rapidly adjusts to the presence of opiates in their system. When this happens, there is an equally as severe change in behavior and attitude. It can take a loving and personable, outgoing, sweet young man who would do literally just about anything to help another human being and change them into a lying, manipulative, detached individual who would now do just about anything to get that next pill. We watched this happen to my brother. We did everything we could to get him back to us, and he wanted to be back. He hated pills. He hated the mistake that he made that one summer afternoon because he thought it might be fun. He begged for help. He said the pills had eaten his soul, and they made him do things he would have never considered in the past. We tried everything to help him and feared every day of jail or that he would die. The second half of 2011, for 6 solid months, Addison was clean. He had been through withdrawals again and had gained a lot of weight that he lost while abusing prescription pills. He looked healthy. He seemed happy. He had changed his major at UT because he had decided that as a recovering addict himself, he could help so many people. We go to the Bahamas at Christmas as a family. That has been our tradition for my entire life. It is our favorite place to go, and we look forward to it every year. That year was no different. We had a wonderful trip. Addison was clean. We were all together, and we were happy. We arrived home New Year's Day of last year. I stood in my driveway when we got home from the airport and hugged my brother for what would be the very last time. I told him that I loved him, never knowing that that would be my last words to him on earth. The next morning, my mom went to his room to wake him so that he could go to the vet to get his dog. She touched him when he didn't respond, and he was already cold. He was dead, and she knew it when she felt his face. Addison had been able to obtain a couple of pills of opana, a medication that is a combination of oxycontin and morphine used to treat cancer patients. He got these pills from a friend with a simple phone call, just arriving hours in the country, and I know what he was thinking because I knew him so well. He thought, I'll just do this one more time, and then I'll go back to school and everything will be fine. And it was the last time, because he went to sleep, and as his respiration depressed, his heart slowed until it stopped, and then he was gone. Addison was able to obtain any pill that he wanted any time that he wanted because they are so readily available to anyone. Addison never went to a doctor. He never visited a pain clinic. He was never prescribed anything. He never had to go to the doctor. For years he was able to get whatever pain pill he desired from other college students and kids his age, and the list of contacts he had available to him was extensive, to the tune of about 30 different people. He didn't have to go to a shady part of town or down a dark alley to get them. Pills are available everywhere, in schools and neighborhoods, in broad daylight, and even I've heard stories that pills are available in our church communities. This availability is a result of the gross overprescribing of addictive and dangerous narcotics from pain clinics throughout our state, and it is affecting literally everyone in one way or another. Florida was in the same devastating situation a few years earlier than Tennessee. They passed similar legislation to House Bill 1264, which tremendously alleviated their problem. Because of Tennessee's lack of laws and lax regulations, the problem didn't end in Florida. It just moved to Tennessee. As I've mentioned, I have sent over the past years letters and emails to you that not only told Addison's story, but provided you with the most current and accurate data about our epidemic. I am confident of this accuracy because I have gathered all of this data myself. With the help of a Facebook community who has come together as a group for support, to be given a safe place to talk to each other about how this epidemic has negatively impacted, if not ruined, their lives without having to fear the common judgment of society at large. There were over 200 newborn babies who came into the world addicted to opiates last year at Knoxville's East Tennessee Children's Hospital alone. Over 200 babies at one hospital. The immediate impact on these babies from the minute they are born is excruciating for them, and it is excruciating to watch. The long-term effects are still unknown, but the list will be long, and it will take us many years to grasp the damage that this has done to these who are our tiniest, most innocent of those impacted. Our jails across the state are filled past maximum capacity because of the prescription drug abuse. Almost everyone incarcerated for charges related to prescription pills have been incarcerated before and will be again and again and again. More than 70% of our state's jail populations are filled with inmates who are there because of something related to prescription pills, and I know because I called every single one. Accidental overdose deaths continue to rise each year, that nothing is done to help put a stop to this growing epidemic. Over 3,500 Tennesseans died last year alone from an accidental overdose to prescription pills. According to medical examiners, hospital officials, including emergency room doctors and employees, each year the number grows, and I know because I called them all. Every single one of those 3,500 accidental deaths was 100% preventable. DCS and our court system cannot keep up with all of the cases that are before them that are directly related to prescription abuse. Children are being taken from their parents, grandparents are given custody when they can, but the foster care system is exploding because of this. In all of my letters that address each aspect that I've listed for you and how it has affected that area in a negative way also has a financial price tag attached to it, which I included for you. Passing this legislation will not only save lives, which is the utmost importance to preserve the sanctity of life, but passing this bill will save a lot of dollars as well. Currently, we are spending each year on average $100 million for court cases, $100 million for foster care, $400 million for jail incarcerations, $80 million for the care of NAS newborns, and that's just for Children's Hospital, and $6 million on autopsies. Notice that this list unfortunately does not include state-funded rehabilitation centers, but we can't leave that off the financial list. A quick estimation proves that currently we are spending close to $1 billion per year on prescription drug abuse. What is sad is that not $1 listed is spent on prevention. Every dime we are spending is trying to clean up the mess. This legislation will help in prevention. It will help prevent babies from being born addicted to pills, which is forcing them to live out the consequences of decisions that they did not make. It will help prevent continuous and repetitive incarcerations, which has proven to solve absolutely nothing in trying to assist the addicted. It will help prevent children being taken from their parents for a time or for someone else to raise completely because their parents are unfit because of prescription drug abuse. And it will help prevent the accidental deaths that are happening every single day. It will help prevent families from being completely devastated from the sudden loss of someone so young, so bright, so capable, like my brother. As I mentioned before, my Facebook page, it too is named after my brother with an acronym for Addison, Abolish Drug Distribution, Igniting Support of New Beginnings. There are almost 4,000 people on this page. Every single person there has been devastated in some way by this epidemic. So it isn't just me standing before you because I lost my precious brother. I speak for them too. For most of them, they have been looking for a voice for some time now, and for whatever reason, they picked me. So I stand before you today not just as a sister who lost her brother she loved more than life itself, but as an advocate for the citizens of our great state of Tennessee who have completely had enough of this problem. They have trusted me to be their voice, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. When someone dies from a prescription drug overdose, they write to me. I read the whole sordid and horrible tale, and I read them daily, because they arrive daily. It is an incredible hard burden to bear, to only get messages of death, destruction, heartbreak, and ruin. I carry it with me. I hurt for them, I cry for them, and I know how they feel. It is a heavy load for me in the shadow of my own incredible loss. The passing of this bill will do so many incredible things. It will save an astronomical amount of money for our state. It will give our citizens a ray of hope when in their lives there seems to be no end to their tragedy. It will help prevent the preventable accidental overdose deaths, and by bearing my brother's name, the Addison Sharp Prescription Regulatory Act of 2013 will mean that my brother did not die in vain, that his compassion for others and his desire to help those affected by addiction will come to fruition, and that even in death he will be able to help more people than he could have ever imagined. So I ask for your support and your vote for this vital piece of legislation. It will indeed save many lives. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. We appreciate your testimony. I think a couple of members would like to say something. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I just want you to know it's an honor to meet you. Is this your mother?
Yes.
I want you to know that you're my hero. Legislators, we get letters, emails from people daily. And my wife last year said, Jeremy, we're getting some letters that I think you need to stop and read. And I stopped and read it. I was amazed at the vigor and the research that y'all had done. And I thought, my goodness, I've never seen somebody so passionate about something. Consequently, I've read every piece of mail or email that y'all sent to my house or to me. And I always want the chance to get a picture with y'all and meet you and tell you I support you. In Tennessee last year, and you've done a better, we've had over 2,000 people in a 12-month period take their life, or not take their life, or overdose because of this problem. And we've got to meet the problem where it's at. And I hope that we can do something about it. But I just want to publicly say y'all are my heroes. And if Americans would get engaged with things they're passionate about, like you two have gotten engaged, our country would be a lot better off. I wish I had the passion that y'all have. It's amazing, and God bless y'all. Thank you so much for coming up here and sharing your passion with us. It's infectious, and it's a good, noble, just cause. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
You're recognized.
There's nothing I can add from that, but just thank y'all for coming down here. We really appreciate it. I just can't imagine what your family's been through, and to come up here and to be able to share that story takes an amount of strength that no one else really understands, and I don't either. But I just thank you for being here, and thank you for educating us on what your family has gone through. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ma'am, on behalf of the people of the state of Tennessee, thank you.
Thank you.
Back in session. Members, we were on the amendment. Has been motioned and second. We'd like to have a vote on that. Those in favor of attaching the amendment to the bill say aye. Attached. Back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
The bill as amended, you want me to tell you some of the different things that it does, or have y'all had a chance to?
We have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Don, you said earlier that the amendment we had, the 5568, took out section 11. Something you said that was different than the other one. Can you talk about what that is?
Section 11 dealt with which individuals could own a pain management clinic. It did not include chiropractors. There was a lot of discussion on it. Section 11 was removed so that chiropractors are still able to own the clinics, and because of that, the chiropractors are now in support of this bill, and I think everybody's come together and are in support of it except the bad guys.
That still doesn't eliminate the requirement to have a medical director at these clinics, right? Someone else can own it. Still has to be an MD that's oversighting the nurse practitioners that are writing the prescription for painkillers, right?
That is correct.
Very good.
And I need to point out that our police chief from Knoxville, Chief Roush, is here. He's done all kinds of work with this because, as you can imagine, what he and his force have to deal with every day because of this problem. And so, he's here to answer questions also if the committee would like to hear from him. But if you just want to pass the bill out, then I'm okay with that too.
We have a motion and a second to pass out. All those in favor Stand by just a second. Representative, we had an amendment. Are we postured with the bill that you wanted right now? We had an amendment 5521 that was provided to me. Is this to be laid down now?
This could be attached to it. I believe it's your amendment.
5521 is to be attached.
That's correct.
Okay. Please withdraw. Okay. Amendment 5521 concerning the healthcare practitioner extender. Any questions? Representative Hardaway.
Just so I'm clear, it seems so simple. I want to ask you, it merely says that one extender can have multiple, be the agent of multiple prescribers.
Correct.
Okay.
As opposed to one.
Thank you.
This is Amendment 2.
Mr. Chairman, let me also, so I don't have to come back and do it, thank Police Chief Roush for the way that he worked with the Chiropractic Association. Wonderful guy, easy guy to work with. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Back to session. Mr. Sponsor, amendment number 2 is probably before the committee. We're voting on amendment number 2 to House Bill 1264. Those in favor of attaching say aye. Opposed? Attached as amended. Any further comments? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of sending House Bill 1264 to full committee say aye. Opposed? Aye, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
Thank you.
10 News is brought to you in high definition exclusively by Harper Auto Square. You are watching WBIR TV, Channel 10, Knoxville. The news starts now.
It's devastating. It's devastating to lose someone, especially so suddenly.
An East Tennessee woman fueled by grief helps pass a law now seeing results with the number of pill mills going down. Good evening and thank you for watching. I'm John Becker.
And I'm Robin Wilhoit. Tonight, we are learning an East Tennessee woman's legislative efforts may have led to Knoxville's biggest pill mill bust last week.
Those efforts, however, were born out of tragedy. Jessica Akhrass, her brother Addison Sharp, died of a drug overdose in 2012, and sadly, her story is all too common. State data shows drug overdoses are one of the leading causes of death in Tennessee. More people in 2013 died from a drug overdose than car accidents, homicides, or suicides, and that data shows this is a growing problem.
Prosecutors have linked 9 overdose deaths to last week's pill mill bust. There are more than 100 defendants in this case, and police expect more arrests in the coming weeks.
Investigators haven't linked Sharp's death to this pill mill, but it could still be running if it wasn't for the efforts of that East Tennessee woman.
10 News reporter Kendall Morris shows us how change came at a personal price.
Sitting is something Jessica Akhrass has hardly done in the past 3 years. Just 12 days after her younger brother Addison died from a prescription pain pill overdose, she set off on a mission.
I was just angry. And I really didn't give it a whole lot of thought. I just jumped right into it, and I thought, somebody has to do something about this. This is ridiculous.
Akhrass describes her brother Addison as a brilliant kid with a bright future. He graduated from Knoxville Catholic High School and went to UT. But Akhrass says he got mixed up with the wrong crowd at his summer job in 2008.
He was offered a pill by a coworker, hey, take this, and being young and immature, he took it, having no idea what it was or what it would do. And he liked it.
She says Addison's problems continued for the next 4 years. He spent a brief 5-month stint in rehab, but the addiction and availability of the pills took hold of his life.
Addison didn't have to go down a dark alley to get it. It's right here in the heart of Farragut, in a very nice part of town with all these nice homes. And the message it sends is that it's way bigger than what people realize or would probably like to admit.
For the last 6 months of his life, Akhrass says her brother was clean, but in a moment of weakness, he turned to a pill that killed him.
I'll never understand why the night he died, he didn't call me first before he called a friend to get a pill. bothers me that he didn't do that.
Since that day, Akhrass has worked to pass the Addison Sharp Prescription Regulatory Act of 2013, putting regulations in place to monitor unethical pill mill operations and leaving a legacy for others to learn from Addison's life.
The only way I can describe it is bittersweet satisfaction. I'm happy that every time I hear of another one getting shut down, I'm happy because they're killing people.
That was Kendall Morris reporting. The law that grieving sister worked to pass does not take away people in need of pain pills and their rights to get them, but it does create guidelines for how the medications are prescribed.
Last month,